Hey guys, in today's video lesson we're going to be doing a valve stroke check. So what we have here is we're going to have a Fisher 3582 pneumatic positioner. And here's a schematic drawing of all of our tubing. So what we're going to have is a regulated air supply from our instrument air header coming into the bottom. We're also going to have our 3 to 15 psi signal coming in right here. Normally in the field this would be done using an IDP transducer, but in this calibration example we're going to be using our Fluke 718 pressure pump that we've been using in past videos. And the final thing we're going to have is we're going to have our output to our actuator, which is going to provide the actual pneumatic driving force to open and close the valve. So one thing to note is that the bench set of our actuator is going to dictate what we set our regulator to. So if the valve is bench set to 3 to 15 psi, for example, we're going to set our regulator to 20 psi. The rule of thumb is you want to go about 5 psi above the maximum pressure needed to get the valve to 100%. If the bench set was, say, 6 to 30 psi, we would set it to 35 psi. So here's a table of values, or range values we're going to have. In our example today, we're going to have a fail-closed valve. So at 3 psi, the valve will be 0% open. At 15 psi, the valve will be 100% open. At 9 psi, we'll be right in the middle at 50%. But here's one thing I wanted to note. We're not going to set our 0 to 3.5. We don't want our valve to open until about 3.5 psi, because if we set it to 3, then at 3.01 psi, the valve would start to open, and we do not want that because pneumatic signals have a lot of variables that can cause fluctuations in the signal. So for safety, we're going to set our valve to about 3.5 psi before it starts to open, and the valve should be fully opened at 14.5 psi. So now we're going to go over the actual valve itself.